Hello everybody, Darren here, and welcome back to Satisfactory. Now previously I had just set out the plans to build our first aluminum factory in this world, but as we're just focusing on the desert biome primarily, that meant building our first railway to retrieve bauxite all the way from the deadly swamp biome. The volume of bauxite that we're working with, or at least the target, is 3,000 per minute. So that meant that we were going to need at least 2 railway pickup stations and a destination with enough coal, copper, and water in the area to be able to handle it all. Today, we're going to be extending the railway into the factory location and building all the logistics for the refineries, the train station, and using a full recycling system where all the water that we get as a byproduct will be fed back into the system to power more refineries, but with a guarantee from me that it cannot fail or get backed up. So this will be a logistics heavy episode with a lot of explaining recipes and these feedback systems, so let's get to it. Alright, let's get started, shall we? So, we have to build a brand new junction, and this one's going to be a little awkward because it's not very even placement. So I've already gone ahead and laid the track here because I know that I want to go straight through the sort of 2 rocks that we have either side, and the plan is to sort of loop around the natural riverbed and come back out. So the idea is to have the factory over there because that's where the coal deposits are, so that's what we're going to do. So in order to build this junction, we'll grab our blueprint, we'll extend it, right? So we want the 5 version. Activate blueprint mode, so lock it in. Not going to do blueprint auto connect because the track is already connected, so it's not going to be able to join on properly. So we just have to actually delete the existing rail on this. That's totally fine. And we've come out to a spacing of 5. This actually might be the spacing that I need. So let's count 1, 2, 3. So we go to 4, and then 1, 2, 3. So it is 1, 2, 3, and then you sort of take away this one if you want, and then it's 1, 2, 3, if you know what I mean. So it's like 4 and then 4, including the starting position. And if you're ever a half foundation short, that's good. If you're half foundation over, that's bad. So you want to be, you know, it's better to have a longer turn than a shorter one. That doesn't really work. So because of that, we can actually now just fit this straight into here. So let's grab the turn point to go right out to the edge, just like we did before. So just like that. Now I can just turn straight in. No big deal. And that's fine, right? So a nice, super clean turn. Now, we obviously want to be able to go from here to the right, so let's grab our railway. Now, if we were to extend it from this side and try to connect it in, it's not really going to work for us, and if we did that, it would, but it's kind of weird, so let's try to make it look more organic if we can. So we'll actually start the placement on the track that we're looking at itself, and try to get the angle so that it looks smoothest from the point we're turning at. So we'll just go from here into there, and then similarly, using the same spot, we'll flip this, and then turn into there. So it's as easy as that. So now we have this irregularly shaped junction. You can see it would almost be a perfect one, but we've obviously just come in quite close there with the turn. That's fine. So the rule, the golden rule that we established in the previous episode is that we want, on a way into a junction, to have a path signal. Right, so I'm going to change this now to a path signal in. So this is right-hand drive, so right in, path signal. So we'll do that on the same on each one. So you're going into the junction on this side, so that's path signal in, and you're a path signal in. That train is now free to move. We'll switch now to a block signal, so it's a block signal out. Block signal out, and block signal out. There we go. A little awkward to see these things, they don't fully load in as well unless I reload the game, but that should be as complicated as it needs to get. So path signals in, block signals out, we should be fine. Sometimes I've noticed that the path signals can get a little confused if you just have one here and it's not leading anywhere. We can't see it right now, but this is probably flashing like with the amber hazard warning sign to let you know that it has nowhere to go, right? Oh yeah, so we can actually interact with it and see that's how it would be displaying. So sometimes when the block has no exit signal, the path signal cannot read it. So if you want to avoid that, just put another one down in front of it and that will get rid of it. Alright, I'm back. So I decided to reload the game so our signals will load in and look a bit better. It's now daytime and I've gone ahead and gotten the steel beams that we need. I thought I would just do a little bit of a time-lapse here for this part as well. People seem to respond well to it in the previous episode. I'm just basically building a single-track loop around the perimeter of... Well, it's not actually the perimeter of the factory. It might be going through it, depending on how we handle things later. But effectively, I'm just always going with this general rule that I have of 3 foundations out either side to get a kind of clean turn. There's absolutely no reason to do that. It does not affect how the trains move or anything. I just kind of think that it's nice to keep it consistent and just have the same kind of turning angle or radius everywhere we have it. I don't know why my brain is so broken with that kind of thing. So that's what you just often see me doing here. And I thought worth showing placing the actual railway down. And I decided to stop using the blueprints because this is going to be you know, on the floor itself, so it doesn't need that kind of external trim to it with the metal beams and all of that kind of stuff on the sides. And then one side here is obviously going to have the station in it itself. So I was trying to avoid the iron deposit that's on the ground right in front of me. So I wanted to make sure that we actually just made that turn before it. So that's why the rail splits from a dual track to a single track. And then the loop, obviously in the inside, is where the factory goes. Lose power, of course. That losing power thing is so frustrating. So if I jump now, like, I can't get power back. Even though you can see in the bottom left, the power symbol says, yeah, you're good to go. You're in range, you're good. Doesn't matter. So what you have to do is just get out of range, into range of something else, and then you can come back. So I'm hoping this will be fixed. 1.1 actually has been dated now for June 10th. You know, I'd like to see these fixes in the experimental branch, really, before they get pushed to live, because it just makes me think there's just going to be more problems. But we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 1... That'll be it there. So we can actually bake in that halfway turn if we want to make the turns the exact same, actually, thinking about it. So that's good. All right, and now this is where we have to think about where the stations are going to go. So you have to do the station first, and then you can build the freight carriages after that. So I'm going to start just a little further in. I like a little bit of straight track before we hit the station. You don't want to turn straight into a station, in my opinion. All right, so I just built a little foundation block here super quick so that we could actually work out where the stations are going to go without them building stilts. You know, if I built this over the edge or something like this, you get these big kind of foundational stilts that come off of the building itself that plank themselves down to the ground. It's actually not doing it here because I guess it's too high, but that kind of thing over there. So we'll just place this down now a bit more properly. So the station is going to face my direction, and we're going to push it back by 1. And we're starting just a little bit further in so that we have room to connect the two on a straight line. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3. I keep losing power. 4, 5, and 6. So that's our 6 stations, just like that. All right, so we want the trains here to actually deliver something, if they can. Now, I haven't powered the other side of the outposts, but what we could do is start redirecting the trains even from here. So you can just access any train station, go over to the timetable, and then we can see the 3 trains that I have in the world, they're on the same route, basically. So I can just interact with one of them here, for instance, and say I'm going to edit your timetable. I'll just remove these for now, and I'll say that you're coming here into the import, and you're going there and there. So you're going to Bauxite 1 and 2, and then you're coming here. It's nice to have that kind of good organization, right? So just easier to read that way. So the next station is going to be Bauxite number 2. It's very specific. It's going to go through 1 to 2, and then here. But that's fine. Hey, there we go. The train has actually just arrived. So it does work. The signals work. The pathfinding works. It knew how to get here. Now, it obviously doesn't have anything on it. We'll have to turn on the miners at some point in the future to obviously deliver the bauxite, but pretty happy to see that this just works. Or it's going to rejoin out. So I'm just paving this area here. I picked up a couple slugs, and I'm just kind of working out where things are going to go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of time has actually passed for me. I've been planning out where the floors are going to go, how high we need to go, and then just in that time, I was doing some of the cosmetics, and I also made the blueprints that will kind of fit with the spacing that we're going to be using. So we'll talk about that in a minute when we get to the blueprints, but I thought I would just very quickly show the railway station here. It's pretty standard, a little bit, kind of a warehouse effect, a little dome over the station itself. Nothing too crazy, but I just thought I would acknowledge it instead of just moving on while that's there. The placement of anything didn't change. You know, the rail is in the exact same place we had it. The storage buffer's in the same place. And then I've just added in some lights. And I've been kind of figuring out a style that we can go with for the factory that I'll then repeat as we build it out later on. So I was just kind of playing around with some cosmetics and doing those blueprints, as I said. So let's now pave out the floor. So I've decided that this is going to be the logistics floor here, not down there. Initially I thought, oh yeah, this would be perfect down here, but because of the railway and these different kind of cliffs and rocks in the way, we need to bring water in over the railway, and the coal is already sort of raised over that anyway. And then there's other things that I'd probably want to clear in the future if this factory builds out further. So it just seems to make sense to me to go up another layer and build up here. Will this be used for anything now? I don't know. It's great that there's copper here, actually, because we could use that with the aluminum to make other things. So that will definitely have a production floor itself over there, and any other copper we could bring in. Although I think it's an impure node. I'll have to check that later. That's a bit further than I've planned out, I guess. I've really just planned as far as the ingots. I don't even know what we're going to do with the ingots. I mean, there's casing and there's alclad, but the rates of how we're going to break that up and use it, I'm not too sure just yet. But anyway, I just thought I would mention that. So I'm using the foundation here, which is 2 layers. That allows us to have concrete here on the top, but have a different material underneath. So just a bit nice for cosmetics if you want to do that. Then I've also used the ceiling light 1x2. So I've actually updated this now so that it does work where you can just lock it into place, and then push it up 2 layers and place it. Obviously, if there's nothing in the way. It wasn't working like that before. I just thought I would mention that for people. It was slightly raised before, like literally millimeters on, like not aligned with the foundations, but now it's aligned. I just corrected it. So if you're using that blueprint, it should be a little easier to use now in future. And remember, all my blueprints are free, of course, whatironplace.com/satisfactory. You can just go grab them. Right, so let's keep going with this floor just for a little bit. Like I said, not 100% sure where we're going to use, but I have a layout in mind logically for where the machines are going to go in my program called Milanote. Again, just for a quick preface, this doesn't do any planning for you, so I never really recommend it from that perspective, although I like to use it because I can kind of customize it however I want. I can literally build the layout that will be how the foundations are planned, as well as the logic together. Other people use things like Satisfactory Modeler on Steam, and other tools are available, and that's all good. I like using this, and I use this program for other things to do with game design and things like that, so I just like sticking with this. Right, so the general idea, as you can see, hopefully you can see, right, is to have the water pipeline through the center here, and then we're building layers of refineries on either side, and then this will be repeated 2 more times over, right, so 3 in total. So that's all I know. I haven't figured where this is going to go. We have to choose a location and then stick to it. But one way we can do that is quickly... Oh, did I drop a... I did. Dropped a dismantle crate just over there. I'll have to get that in a minute. So, in the architecture category, I've added an aluminum factory category, and we have aluminum recycler B&A, and then scrap recycler B&A. So, for the A side, it's like laid out slightly differently. So, the 100% refineries are on the inside track, right? Because they're the ones receiving the water, and then we'll talk about how it feeds itself and stuff later. So we have 2 different sides. So they're effectively the exact same, but they're just on 2 different sides, A and B side. One's doing scrap and one's recycling. Now, if we just have a look at how big they are, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe just about on the 5th foundation. And then we have another one, which will be like the same, should be the same size really. It should be about 5. So if I carve out and paint 10 foundations on either side of where I want this pipeline, that should give me a general layout. So that's what I'm going to do next. Alright, so there we go. So I decided to add a little bit more cosmetic flair just to make it more interesting while we're even building on it. And I went with a pretty generous spacing. So each block, we have 6 blocks in total, is surrounded by fix-it metal, or the fix-it foundation with the unpainted metal finish on top, a center of concrete for sort of support for the machines, and then coated concrete in between painted white, and then turned up that brightness a little bit with it as well. Obviously, we're outside in the desert sun, so it's very reflective at the moment, but once we get inside and have some proper lights on it, it'll be toned down just a little bit, look a bit better. Okay, so let's get building. We'll start on the left side. I'm going to go into my blueprints. We'll go down to architecture, and then select the aluminum factory layout. So basically, there is a machines category, but I wanted to reserve that for machines that are like dynamic, right? So these can be placed in any factory. They're just like kind of various layouts and stuff. Whereas specific layouts that are really bespoke to a single factory go into the architecture category. So this can be machines or specific cosmetics, I guess, as well. But I always group it by the factory. Okay, so we're going to start with the solution, and A is on the left side, B is on the right side, depending on the perspective of the water. So if the water's coming in this direction, we want the A on the left. Alright, so we'll go with default mode. As you can see, this is already raised, so we'll just turn it so, like so. So the outputs are facing away from me. We'll sync it down thanks to the new nudging that's in the game, vertical nudging, and we'll move this to be on line with the foundation line, and this is center aligned with the foundation as well. Then we want these things to be in line with the foundation also, so just like there is perfect. That goes into the center, that's in the center, that's on the line, that's on the line, that's on the center. So that's exactly how we want it. Just check the middle as well, or the far end. So these 3 pipes shouldn't go any further over the edge. Yep, they look good to me. Alright, let's lock it in. Now, that was aluminum recycler solution A, so now we want to select aluminum scrap A. This will work off this one. We can actually select blueprint mode now, rotate it around so it faces the opposite direction, right? The chimneys are facing away from us. And then we bring this down so that it's in line with the pipes. And then just nudge it over so that we have that rule. Oh, it's actually correct already. So we're in the center here, we're on the line, in the center, on the line, etc., right? So that's as good as we need it. We're actually a little close. We could go wider. Yeah, no, we'll keep it here. This is the way it was meant to be. All right, so that is done. Now, at the center point here, I'm going to grab a valve. And we'll just lock that in first and then join the pipes into that valve. So the water is now transferring from one to the other, or it will be. And then here I've gone for a 3-valve system. So I thought we'd talk about this. Let me just hook these in. I'll do straight mode, like so, and just hook each one of these into their own machine. Hey everybody, it's Editor Darren here, or Darren from the future if you want to think of me that way. I was looking over the edit for the video, noticing a massive chunk in the middle of like 30 minutes of me explaining how this recycling system works. I think I may have gone a little overboard. There's a lot to touch on, there's lots of questions I was trying to answer preemptively, but I think ultimately we got to service the video, not, try to cut this down a bit. So I'm here re-recording this bit. I'm going to explain this overall setup. The factory that cannot fail. So what do I mean by that for aluminum? Well, a lot of people fail with aluminum because of the nature of the recipes. So we're going with sloppy alumina. As mentioned in the previous video, we kind of talked through the fact that aluminum normally has a lot of byproducts, either silica or also water. We're cutting out the silica totally, so we're just going to deal with the water. So our standard machine here is going to have bauxite coming in and then water coming in to put out alumina solution. The really nice thing here is that there is a complementary recipe that takes in the solution at the exact same rate that the sloppy alumina puts it out. So it makes things easier for numbers, right? So that 240 that was coming out can go straight into this machine on its own. We just add a bit of coal, and then we're getting water out as well as scrap. So the water is the interesting bit. We want that water to come around and maybe serve as the original starting point for the refinery here, right? So this takes in water. It'd be great if we could use that water to kickstart the whole thing. This is the complicated part. Pipe priority is a really difficult thing to manage for a lot of people because there's no real set rules in the game about it. There's all these problems with floating point errors and whether or not valves work correctly. There's all these issues, right, with pipelines. So we've just cut that out completely by putting this refinery on its own water pipeline network. But first of all, I'm just going to touch on very briefly pipeline priority. There are ways to do it. We have done it, and trust me, over 2,000 hours in the game, hundreds of hours on streams. Just recently, we built an aluminum mega build, and we actually used a pipeline recycling system, not like this, the harder version, and it worked. But it is finicky, and it's much harder to troubleshoot, so I'm just cutting all of that out and saying, like, we don't have to worry about that with this. And it runs perfect, so there's no issue, right? There's no lack of efficiency here. So one way to achieve pipeline priority is, let's say we just grab a junction here, just something like that, and then we send this pipe up and then back down. And then this could be our water extractor, right? So our water extractor is actually sending the water along this way, and then something is coming out of the recyclers going this way. But because it has to go up before it comes down, it guarantees that we'll have the priority on this pipe. Now, I say guarantee. There are so many different things that can go into this regarding if this pipe was raised previously, stuff like that. That's where it can trip a lot of people up. You can stick valves on it to get the exact amounts, but the exact amounts aren't true in valves. It's like to a certain decimal point. It's just a whole mess. So we're cutting that out. Now, why would this be a problem, right? Well, the problem would be that if the water extractor here had the priority, right, and the recyclers didn't, which shows what this setup is doing, you'd actually want to raise the water extractor actually, and you want to have this one be lower. But let's say that the recyclers had the lower priority by accident, then they couldn't put out their water as a byproduct. Therefore, the machines would get jammed and they would back up. That means they would stop accepting the aluminum would stop, and that would fail, right? The whole structure would fail, everything would power down, and they'd be all backed up. And that's what a lot of people find with their machines. They just find that their machines are jammed with water. So this is why I talked about the idea of a factory that cannot fail for aluminum, because while you can do that, while you can have a pipeline here that continues into every machine, recycling all of your water, and I have done it, this is just so much more of a stress reliever or a stress avoidance, I guess, because we don't have to worry about it. So the other thing with this build is that all of the, well, actually, let's just go through the build now, right? So we're starting with this. We have 100%, and the ratio is whatever this one is at, you need 3/4 of that clock speed here and 3/4 here. And then you mirror it. You go 3/4 here, 3/4 here, and then 100% here. Okay, so that's basically how you do it. So this is set to 100, but we're actually going to underclock it. So currently it's 100, then it's 75, and then it's 75, right? So we get 180 out, and that 180 straight up just goes right into here, 180. So that's why they are matched together. Now, if we had a look at these numbers, we could see 240 plus 180 plus 180, so that's 240 plus 180 plus 180. That's a clean 600. Here's another problem with the game. Moving liquids on a pipe with 600 is just unreliable. There are floating point errors in the game where you get to 599.99 and you'll notice that some of the alumina solution is just backing up in the machines ever so slightly. But sometimes it doesn't happen. I've had it where it never has that problem, and I used to be a proponent, a guy saying like, no, you can do it, it's fine, it works in my game, it's fine. But then I noticed that the bigger the world you make, the lower your frame rate goes. It seems like these errors are more prone to popping up. So let's avoid it. Let's just avoid it. It means that we can't use 600, which sucks, but it's just not a reliable thing. And it's so messy, and everyone has different ideas about how it should work. And like I said on these streams, we've done the testing on a variety of them, and you might not see the error for like 12 hours, and that's the annoying thing. So let's avoid it. So instead, I've broken up individual pipelines here, because it would have been 600 in the middle. And I did do a test where I actually ran it, 600 in the middle, and I did a test like this where I would zoom in on the lights, so they were all green, and I was waiting to see if they ever flickered. And they took them 2 hours, and then eventually they flickered for like a brief minute, and then they came back. So, you know, not a big deal, but if you've got a factory that's reliant on all of your aluminum, and then your aluminum went down to 98% efficiency, then your other factory would go down to 98, and it could have a spiral effect, and we want everything to run cleanly at 100. So, the way I solved that here was having separate pipelines for each. So, what comes out of here stays here, and just goes into the respective machine that it needs to. Now, there's also a problem when you load the game, because we're taking the exact amount, right? We're popping out 240 here, and we're taking in 240 there, but this machine has an inventory space. It needs to receive some liquid before it actually spools up and does its first burn. Now, without getting too long-winded about that, that means that there's just this marginal room for error, and when you first load the game, there is a moment where the liquid isn't moving in a pipe, and that's because pipes don't have a set transfer speed. Belts do. So we can guarantee that item A is going to get into its slot at a certain amount of time. Even if there's one item on the belt or 200 items on the belt, the speed is the same. It's not true for pipes. The more full a pipe is, the faster things move. Therefore, when you start a game, the pipe just has this little configuration moment where it's deciding that it also has to determine the direction things are moving. Things can move back in segments. So it's a whole mess of decimal points, I'm sure, behind the scenes. And therefore, I noticed that this build here, right in front of you, ran perfectly fine for 2 hours, no issues. But then when I loaded the game, the machines all went to 97 to 98%, something like that, and then they came back up to 100. It was no problem. The way I've solved that is by using valves. So what we're going to do, and it's a little bit of manual labor, I guess, but these valves have come locked, right, as part of the blueprint that I made. So they're going to be shut down. When we turn on the machines, they're going to make like a bunch of aluminum. This first one will. These two can't, because they're not receiving any water. So this first one will, you know, get full, or even if it has just a little bit, it's all good. Then we just open the valve. It'll flow in there. That will start making water. That will go into both of these. These will start making solution, and that'll start rolling out. So we'll let them do 2 or 3 cycles, or it's fine if they make loads of cycles. It's not a problem. But let's just say, you know, if you're monitoring it, you know, you have a couple minutes of cycles. Not even that. What's the word? I'm over-exaggerating. Honestly, if it was 10 seconds of cycles, it'd be enough. And then you just open these valves, and that's it. Then you're done. You never have to do anything ever again. And that's just a little extra measure to avoid this thing where when you load the game, you see this hitch. You won't get that because there'll already be excess liquid in the system. So it's never going to happen. It'll always be fine. Because when it normally has that issue, it does catch up on itself. But we're eliminating the need to even catch up because there's excess liquid in the system to begin with. And it never goes to waste or anything. So it's not like after 50 loads, it won't work anymore. So that's basically it. That's the idea. This cannot fail because water cannot get backed up. The pipelines are all separated. I've run numerous tests on these. They should all be totally fine. It just requires, you know, we have one machine on its own pipeline. The liquid that comes out circles back around, goes into these two, and it'll take about, I actually timed it, and I did 7 different layouts because there's all different rates that you can use for these. And this is the one I was just happy enough with. I did a really complicated looking layout where some of the refineries were raised above the other ones to create priorities and stuff, and it was all working, but it would take 18 minutes to get to full throughput. This takes about 6 or 7 minutes, so it's much better, much quicker, and it has less of a failure rate with odd loading and frame rate issues and stuff like that. So what we got to do, though, is maintain that rule. However you build these, you always have to maintain the rule. Whatever this is set to, you need 3/4 of that in this one and this one, and those two, right? So the way we can actually work that out, 3/4 is obviously 75%. So I only have the bauxite now to run these machines at 50%, right? So we could have 3,000 bauxite when we get our Mark III miners, but for now, we're only going to have 1,500 bauxite. So we're going to use half of the amount that will be fully available to us in the future. So with 1,500 bauxite, we can clock our machines to 50%. So what do we got to do for the 3/4 ones? Well, if, you know, depending on your number, we can do 50 times 0.75. So that's 75% of 50, that's 37.5. So let's set this to 37.5, copy that, paste it onto this one. This will be also the same, because you want to match them, they're 1-to-1, 37.5, copy that, paste it there, and then this one is back to 50. Okay, so you can then, if you're unsure, you know, double check. It's like, okay, this is receiving 120 aluminum, so are we making 120 aluminum here? Yes, so we're all good on that front. So that's basically how you do it. That's the ratios, that's the aluminum setup. This is the setup that cannot fail, because it cannot get backed up. It can slow down if you don't provide enough water and bauxite, but if you do, then we're all good. So that's it. Back to the video. The other thing I forgot to actually mention, and you can see that the blueprint has the recipe either way, is that we haven't actually unlocked those recipes. I just have that saved from a different thing, but I do have the recipes. So in the previous episode, we looked at getting 9 hard drives, and as mentioned, because we didn't have any other recipes to get, we pretty much did roll the ones I wanted. So we have the pure aluminum ingot, so scrap straight to aluminum ingot, right? 60 in, 30 out, so we get half the amount out. We'll take that one. The other one's actually alright as well. It's like just make steel from aluminum, but we're not going to do that right now. So we'll take that one. And then the other one was the sloppy alumina recipe, which I think I just probably ran past. Oh, there it is right there. Cool. So that's bauxite plus water, and it gives you alumina solution. So it removes this need for silica. And it also makes the numbers a little bit more even. So it's 200 in, 200 water. So the water and the bauxite have to be the same, which is cool. So get rid of that. They're unlocked now. They're officially ready to be used. And basically we just now need to provide 100 water. So we would, instead of doing 400 water on the line, we only need 200. But I'm building this place for the future. We want to be able to easily ramp it up. So we'll have everything in place so that we can easily just reclock the machines the way they need to be. And then the speed of ingots just ramps up the way we intend. So that's the plan. And that way, when we need to upgrade it, that's the best way to do upgrades to factories. It's just, you plan for the future a little bit, you know, you plan for a speed of belt that you don't have yet. And once you do that, then it's very easy to go back into a factory and just go, oh, I just flick a few switches, maybe I increase the percentages a bit, and boom, I'm making more. You know, it's a great way to just upgrade a factory without going, oh my god, I have to now expand the floor, where am I going to move things? And then you get burnt out because you just can't be bothered rebuilding a place that you've already built. So I find this to be a nice middle ground where we do... Not like we're not building to 1200 speed, but we're building just one above where we're at. And that's kind of a bit more doable with the technology that we have. So again, we'll line this up in the same spot. So this one goes here, does it? I think. Yep. And then we'll just place these down. So I'm just going to place the rest of these and then we'll talk about it. Alright, so now that those 3 lines are totally done, we grab the Alumina Recycler Solution A and we go to the Alumina Recycler Solution B. And it's just mirrored so that we can now rotate it around this way, sink it down into wherever it needs to go. And I think we're starting here now on this side. Same sort of thing though. So that's Recycler Solution B. So we need Recycler Scrap B. Default, or sorry, Blueprint mode. Rotate it around so it's the opposite angle and bring this back down to there. Now we need to make sure we're lined up with the center. There we go. So this one obviously has a wider pipe because the pipes are placed on the other sides of the machines. So that'll just go across like that. We'll just grab the... What's it called? The valve. Now that the colors transfer, I often just go and grab the one that's already painted for ease. Alright, so we'll just lock that in the center somewhere between these two. Join these at the hip. And then these should already have their stuff. So we're pretty much ready to go. So this one just simply goes into there. This one goes into there. And this one goes into there. And that's that. It's as easy as that. So just keep doing these blocks over and over. Alright, so there we go. 36 refineries, all in position, pretty much ready to go. I've cleaned up the power poles and given them power, so they're looking good. The foundation floor, or logistics floor, sorry, beneath has been expanded. Like I said, it's going to get dark every now and then. I decided to add in some glass so we can actually see the railway moving if we are on this floor. I think that'd be kind of nice. So we've got our 3 inputs, 1, 2, and 3 for the dedicated water line. Yeah, I got confused for a second, sorry. So yeah, the bauxite, and bauxite, and bauxite. So 3 bauxite, inserts, and then there are 3 scrap outputs there. These are the 3 coal inputs. So I've actually got a kind of interesting way I think I'm going to do this. So let's see. I'll just do one as an example. So the coal, I think, will be no more. Let's just give it a 400 belt anyway, 480 belt. So we'll say that this is the input here, right? But it has to go evenly between the 3. Really, it's got a priority to be higher on one than the other, but it's okay. It'll work itself out. So I would go with a splitter on the line like this, and then bring this down to be in line there, and this down to be in line here. That'll need to be a Mark II, and that'll be a Mark II. So we could change this now to say Mark II, Mark II, Mark II. And there we go. I think that'll be it. I'll have to just check my numbers, but pretty sure. Alright, so I'm just placing more of these in on each side, so it's just going to be the exact same layout for each one. I actually quite liked using the vertical splitter thing like this. Seems like a pretty elegant way of doing it. And the fact that it just lines up is very, very nice indeed. So, starting to learn to work with it, you know? Just thought it would show that off. To be a bit more accurate to how you can actually use it. Alright, so I need to start figuring out where the water is actually going to go. So I've reserved this central area, right? So we have it upstairs as well. For the water to go straight down the line somewhere here, and we'll decide how it gets up here later. But, you know, effectively something like this. 1, 2, and 3. So this line is going to go 1 and 2, so divide twice, and this line is going to divide twice there and there, and then the central line will go all the way down to the very end and split evenly between the 2 sides. So let's get to it. So I guess the junction will need to be like this, raised up to the same height, and I mean that's basically actually all we'd have to do, other than just placing down more supports. So this can just continue to go straight across, and just somewhere on the halfway mark of a foundation here, that could do. So get rid of that. And yeah, just go straight, and then we'll go horizontal to vertical mode. And that's that one done. Now, this pipeline is just going to continue down a little further, so we'll just continue to go with our support, and then turn it where it needs to be. So working with the lines of foundations is just such a nice thing to do, you know, because you just know easily when things are lined up and when they aren't. So always, I just cannot recommend that enough. You know, I used to just build things wherever, and sometimes aesthetically, you know, that can be better, but it's just such a time saver when you know where things need to go without having to constantly check things. So there we go. So that's one water line done. So I'm just going to duplicate that now on the left side. All right, so just in doing the other side, it's just a mirror copy of what we've just done. So this will just be horizontal to vertical, then again into the top. So we're obviously going right underneath this area here, which should be fine. We'll just make sure that when we do put in a lift, if you care about clipping anyway, which I do, we don't go through that. We stay above it. You could go all the way down. You're like, oh yeah, this is safe, but not really. I mean, the iron plate, the plates that lift the things up would go through it. It would look a bit strange to me. So I'll just keep it probably quite high or even to there, and then match those 3 to be the same. So we just know our bauxite line needs to be higher than the pipes. That's fine. The coal is the one that probably wants to be lower than the pipes. So we'll figure that out in a minute. Okay, so let's get this. We'll just go down to this angle here, and then I just have the 2 final rows at the end. Alright, so there we go. So of course it is 400 per minute, so we need a Mark II pipeline on the way in, but after the split, it's fine to use a Mark I. You can keep it as Mark II the whole way, doesn't really matter. I'm actually, just for aesthetics, going to make sure that that's Mark I, and this is as well, so just continue that all the way down as well, as they are just receiving eventually 200 per minute each, so that should be totally fine. Technically, the water that comes out of here is 300 per minute. Again, I didn't want to risk, you know, full throughput on a pipeline. So if it's 300 per minute, a Mark II pipe is going to be able to handle that just fine. And hopefully rule out any errors. So yeah, just do a fine little bit of painting down here and then we'll be done. So for the next thing, we want to actually look at the coal deposits. So basically there are 3, and each of them are normal deposits. So if we place a miner on one of them right now, a Mark II miner is able to get 300 per minute out of one deposit. So a Mark III miner, once we get them, is going to be able to do 600 per minute. We just double it. So it's going to be perfect because each of these groups here take 300 per minute in. Again, it just couldn't have worked out any better because that means that we need 3 lines for the 3 deposits, each one doing 600 per minute. So all we have to do is go into a splitter and just follow the exact same kind of splitting rule that we did for the water. It's like the exact same thing. So we'll just place a splitter there. We'll do another one on this side. We'll grab one of our belts. We'll keep it on straight mode for now. We'll just go straight in there. Cut across here. Do a halfway stop, maybe. Somewhere on the line would be nice. And then in you go. And that's it. That's one. Just continue on to do the next one now. So this has to split somewhere down here. So again, can we follow the supports? Supports are a bit too far down, I think. So just go like somewhere back to here, I guess. And then follow down this line. And if we could pop that down at the same place, that'd be good. So there. And then in we go. So that's 300 and 300. Easy peasy. So obviously this will be 600 in the future, so that'll have to be a Mark 5 belt. But the other two can stay as Mark 4. So just copy that now on the other side, basically. And that's it. Alright, cool. Now there's just one last one to go, which is the middle line. Let's grab that. We'll just continue all the way up. So we'll pop a support just underneath the other supports. And just continue straight through. Do another one there, why not? Another one here. And then this needs to go into a splitter somewhere down here, right before it splits into its two buddies. So that would be the location right here that we set for the other two. Let's grab that. In you go. And yeah, just find the support that our buddies have. So about there. You're done. And then we just do the same thing on the left side. So this is working out so nice. Let's see. About there. Cool. And that's now coal. Ready to go. Right, so for bauxite, it's going to be pretty simple. We're going to go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Just like that. Grab our splitter in the center up to 3 as well. Get our Mark 3 belt. Mark 3 out of our mines. And send that in. Just make sure that we give these the colors that they need. And then we're just looking to feed this. So the way I'm planning on doing it, right, so I've just done those other two on this side. Haven't done the others on the right side just yet. But the way I'm planning on doing it is with ceiling mounts instead. So if I use stackable poles, it'll kind of clip through the water and stuff. So I'm deciding to use the 6 belts are just going to be in a line, traveling together. And we're going to do it from the top down rather than from the bottom up. I could have went up higher, but I just thought it'd be kind of nice to be able to somewhat see the stuff that's on the belt. So I brought these down fairly low. So now we'll just grab a Mark 4 belt. And eventually it'll be a Mark 5. And we just have to send that right into its thing. So just like that. It's pretty straightforward. And then the opposite side will do the same thing. And then we just work our way to the inside on the way down. So I got to lay out more of these stackable poles. So we'll just have to do that before every group and then just join them on together. The only annoying thing with the stackables was that they need to be sunken in by 1 to make this look right. I thought about using cable tie beams as well, but I was like, it's a lot of work. Let's just do this. And this should be okay. Is that the same on that side? Yeah. Alright, so we go easily just snap on then each one of these. And we should be just above the pipe. No big deal. Just grab our belt, start on this side, all the way down. Oh, we can just about make it. Perfect. And then this one just goes over to its buddy. That's it. I guess, actually, you don't need this one, right? So we could be removing these as we go down for a cleaner look. Yeah, that actually makes life a lot easier because we only have to put down 2 in the very center. So we'll just continue this belt again, all the way down. And then you go over there. Nice. And then I just have to do the same on the left side now. Alright, so I've also added a little bit of signage just so we can actually recognize which freight platform each bit of cargo is coming from, right? So let's just complete the area now. So this one is going to branch off and go straight into there. This next line down here, I might extend those signs as well, actually, so that we know. But now I can actually say which group of refineries is corresponding to which train station or train, freight cargo platform. And that could just be helpful in case a certain group aren't getting their bauxite. I'm like, oh, why is that? Now I can trace it back. I'm like, oh, it's number 2. Go to number 2 and then see what's going on at number 2 at the various outposts for the bauxite, just in case something ends up going wrong. It can be good to kind of mark that. All right, so these are all hooked up. Now we need to go downstairs and actually find a way to get their stuff into there elegantly. I mean, I'll just be basically bringing it down from here and adding them in. I guess it's not that complicated, so let's get to it. All right, that was actually extremely straightforward, so we are good. little curvy here at the end. I might actually just adjust this one, because if you come out from this side, it curves at the end, which can look a bit better. So there we go. Might do some sort of metal pillars or something at the back of this to give it a bit more structural support. That can often look good, so I'll just tidy that up now as well. Alright, cool. Looks a little bit better. It's got something going on anyway. Might tidy it up in the future, maybe add some lights or something, but yeah, pretty happy with it for now. So we'll just color those. They'll eventually be Mark 5s, and yeah, we're pretty much good to go with that. Due to the way that we've clocked the machines, we're going to have a lower volume of scrap now than we will in future, but we can't really build a load balancer for the future. We kind of have to build it to the numbers we have now. So I'll show you what I will be doing in the future. This machine here is going to be doing 360 per minute in the future, and this will be doing 270 per minute. This will also be doing 270. So I'll bring them all down with Mark 4 belts, that's totally fine. Then what I'll do is grab a splitter, but we'll make it a smart splitter. So it's going to split off to the right. This is actually the forward direction, by the way. This is the back of it. So when you interact with the smart splitter and you wonder which one's the right or left, the metal side is the front. So the right side is going to be our Annie, and the bottom is going to be our overflow. So then what we'll do is we'll grab a standard splitter, and I'll just raise this till we get whatever height that we need to be there. Is that good? That's fine. Just go right about there. I'll send a Mark 1 belt in. Let me hover for this, I guess. So now we've got Smart Splitter doing priority into a standard splitter. So 60 is being peeled off of our 360 belt, and anything left over is coming out the bottom, which will obviously be 300. Then what we're going to do is build a merger. Merger there, and a merger here. So our 60 goes in, we take 30 off the line, and send it into that one, and we take 30 off the line, and send it into that one. And that way, we've just load balanced our 360 to be 300, 300, 300. It's as easy as that. So that's what we're going to be doing in the future, but for now, we're going to have to just abandon that because we've got different numbers to deal with. So let's just get rid of it. So the numbers are fairly irregular. If we just have a quick look at what they're going to be, we have 180 scrap here, 135, and then 135. So 180 plus 135 plus 135. So we're going to have 450. It's not a super easy way, and 450 then divided by 3, because we want to keep them on 3 belts. So there's no super easy way to get 150. I mean, you can do it with a lot of like 120 belts, then using a 60, splitting that, etc. Not going to bother with that. Instead, because we have a belt speed to manage all this, we'll just build a merger. And to be honest, actually, I'll probably go off into the other side. So let me just get rid of these temporarily. And I'll do this in the future as well. I was just the wrong orientation before. So we'll go off this direction. That just clears us of the coal that's coming in there. Right, so obviously we just grab a merger somewhere like here. They all merge in as standard. And then we just build a splitter right off of that. And now we've got line number 1. I'm pretty close to this now. I'll figure out a way to where to send these. I mean, they'll probably just go up and over each other onto a belt track. But that'll be 1, that'll be 2, and that'll be 3. That'll combine in there. So yeah, so now our 450 goes in and just splits evenly. So that's just a nice and easy way to make it split, right? And obviously I could push this a bit closer back here. That would give us the space. We ultimately want to come out to the side and run down the length of the track here. So we can extend this out actually a bit further. Alright, so I've just gone ahead and made that blueprint. So now in blueprints we have the SB 3x3 3F. Great name, right? It's because we'll probably have loads of variants of these. So it means stacked belts, 3 high, 3 across, at a length of 3 foundations. So I spelled length wrong in that, I'll have to fix that. But yeah, I'll probably make a category here on the left called logistics, and we'll have things like load balanced splitters as well as stacked belts and other kind of things like that, belt tracks, whatever it might be. But for now, a little 3x3 belt track should be totally good. So we can use the default auto connect mode, which should be really nice at connecting these belts together. I'm going to push this forward a little bit just to give it room to join these extra guys on, and we'll move this over down here, tuck it in as best we can. So there we go, we'll lock that one in. Now, this is the cool thing with 1.1, of course, is that these belts will now auto-connect. So this is a length of 3 foundations. So we'll just go right in front, somewhere there. And we have the 6 chain link symbols, so sorry, 9. Click to confirm those. Now we can extend this down. And we'll just go down to match the length, right? So it's 3 foundations as well. So that would be here. And that'll just keep everything looking really nice. It can also curve and bend and stuff if we wanted it to, but I just obviously want it for now to stay nice and straight. So that's 1, 2, and then we'll just nudge this over to have our 3rd foundation. And there we go. So it's going to build a blueprint and then automatically connect them. And now it also colors it based on the belts that are connecting, which is also super, super nice. And the other nice thing is, if you made a mistake and you want to delete it, it deletes the entire thing, the connection as well. So it's really, really cool. Really love that feature. It's like really well done. So then again, we'll just confirm the 9 belts and we'll go down to the length of 3. It's going to say that I'm a little low on material actually, but that's where we want to be. Whoops, I think. So I'm just waiting on the encased industrial beams to climb back up, and then I'll confirm it, and that'll be our belt track. I really need to go get some actually. For this one, we go down to the bottom and we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do that for each one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Grab our conveyor merger, make sure it's center aligned here, I think. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. One of these, you just go straight in. Then we're going to get our splitter. Splitter goes in the center point as well. Again, makes life so easy when you know where things need to go. Grab one of our belts, lock you into you, although you need to be on default mode for some reason. This one can be on straight. So this will just roll straight around into its buddy. This one as well can do the same. And then the one at the back needs a little help getting to where it needs to go. And we'll also give these guys some help too, just for fun. And in you go. And there we go. That's it. Alright, so there we have it. So we have the 9 scrap belts on the left side, 9 scrap belts on the right side. In the future, each belt will do 300 per minute, but for now, they're going to do 150 per minute. So we're running this place at 50% capacity. Obviously, we are dependent on getting Mark III miners for both the coal and the bauxite, and that's going to then allow us to ramp this place up fully. We'll also need a Mark V belt. We won't need a Mark VI belt, which is good news, so this is actually relatively not too far off to be able to get this up and running fully. Now, all this space in the middle, I'm hoping will go for our smelters, right? So they're going to be taking, I think we need 90 smelters in total to be prepared for what we'll be using. Now, we'll clock them all down to 50% as well. That'll be nice and easy to do, but in the future, they can all run at 190 smelters, banging out all of those aluminum ingots. Then, we're going to pick up some of the copper. I'll have to look around for how much copper we'll need. And that copper that's used over there and here, and there's actually some in the desert over there as well that's impure. We could use all that to make ingots, and then combine it to make aluminum alclad. So to make the alclad sheets, which is what the next belt speed requires you use, and it's also used for other things, we need copper ingots. Casing just requires the ingots themselves. However, there is an alternate recipe that if you mix in some copper with those, you get even more casing out. So that's obviously a good thing to do because you're bringing in copper typically anyway. Now I do have this, I believe, here. Alclad casing. It is a lot of copper by comparison to the other one, but you do get a lot out, so it's pretty good. So 75 per minute will be needed for this. That other recipe is actually pretty good too, the quick wire AI limiter. I'll have to see if we can find that one again. Right, so if we just have a look now really quickly at aluminum ingots, what they can be used for, there's still many other things. I believe they can be used for fused frames and maybe radio control units. I'll have to consider that. And that's just the raw ingots. So it can be worth keeping some ingots on their own for other recipes that you'll get in the future. But for the most part, a lot of the ingots that we're going to be using are going to go straight into the alclad and the casing especially. Casing is used a little bit more, but I'll divulge all that in the next one. So that's going to have to be it for today. The sun is setting on this episode, as it were, but that is the logistics floor now pretty much done. And it's just a matter of now building out a smelting part of the factory, getting the water pipeline going, and then activating the train to actually deliver in the bauxite, like activating the miners out there. We should have the power to do it. Power should not be a problem. Nice and stable, 16,000 capacity, and we're currently using 7,251. We can see our max consumption line is building because we've connected all these things in, so we know exactly what this factory will even be using, which is really nice. Alright, well, that's going to have to be it for me. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, you can get all the blueprints, documents, and all that kind of stuff if you wanted to know how this build works at whatdarrenplays.com/satisfactory. The link is in the description. Appreciate all the support on the channel lately. I'm at a record high for channel members. I don't really mention it very often, but really do appreciate it, so thank you. I try to give you guys episodes a little early if you're a member. If not, though, I just do appreciate the support. It's really helpful. I'd say every member basically makes their view go to about, the lowest tier member is about 900 views per membership. So it's really, really, really worthwhile for me. It just makes your view count for a lot. If you want to show support, you can make yourself be the strength of 900, effectively, is why I mentioned that. So thank you. And yeah, I think that's going to be it. All right, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.